What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Get a Bucket podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron. And as always, I'm joined by my guy, Kev Lucas. Kev, what's going on, my brother?
What's good, man? It's summertime. Can't complain. My favorite time of the year, personally. We back at it. NBA draft was yesterday. It was kind of exciting, depending on how you watched it. Me personally, I didn't watch it, but hearing the names and stuff, it was cool. So I can't complain about that. But everything's straight, man. I can't complain. How about yourself?
Man, I always get up for NBA draft and the NBA draft season and all that. But second round, man, I'm not gonna lie. Pick 45, I was in the bed. Second round, they got to make it a little bit more interesting, man. Interesting because at least the NBA, the NFL draft, like they got it throughout 3 days, and even if the second day is you don't know the names and all that, at least they make it a little interesting and all that. But second round, I was out. I was like, yeah, but it's always fun to see going with these players and scouting them and reviewing, seeing where they go is always dope to see, and then landing spots and all that. But we're going to talk about the NBA draft, get into it, and then talk a little about Bob Huggins. Unfortunately, we kind of predicted it's not this way. We didn't think it would go this way. I know I predicted he would not be the head coach in the season, but I didn't think it was going to go down this way. We'll talk about Bob Huggins a little bit later and all that. But Kev, let's get into the NBA draft and all that. Obviously, we know number one pick was right, Victor Wembanyama. That was as easy as whatever. But it got interesting at two. At one point it was right for a lot of like 2 years. It was like it was going to be Scoop, it's going to be the second pick, and then Brandon Miller comes along, has a crazy freshman year. We've talked about him, relentless on the Get a Bucket podcast. With his success at Alabama, what he was able to do, best freshman this season. But then it was like, all right, it's gonna be Scoop. Then we heard about Brandon and all that, and then the last few days it was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and I want to be in Brandon Miller going to the Charlotte Hornets. Do you think Charlotte made the right move with taking Brandon Miller with the second pick?
I mean, I don't think they really could have went wrong. Me personally, I would have taken Scoot just because I'm kind of under the impression that when you're drafting that high, you take the best player available. And I know a lot of people probably thought that the Scoot and LaMelo pairing wouldn't work, but to me, like to have two high-level elite playmakers together, like to me, that's one of the best recipes that you can have. You know what I'm saying? Two guys that can just they're very two different play styles, but they get the job done. LaMelo's a hell of a passer. Scoot the same thing. Obviously, Scoot lives above the rim, much more athletic, but LaMelo's skilled as I don't know what. He sees the game at an entirely different dimension than everybody else on the floor. So I'm not mad at it. With Brandon Miller, you kind of need it, right? Because this a wings league. Like, let's be honest. You look at all the teams that were in the conference finals this year, they had a plethora of wings. They had multiple wings, and you need them. And Charlotte hasn't really had that. Of course, you had the situation with Miles Bridges. It sounds like he'll be back next season, but outside of that, like, you kind of wolfed on the Gordon Hayward contract. They gave him a max contract. That didn't really pan out. So outside of that, I mean, you look at their past few drafts, they tried to draft a center. Mark Williams, I think your boy they hit on. But outside of that, like, they haven't really hit on that. But I think Mark Williams is the future. But the past couple years, they drafted Bryce McGowan's, and they drafted James Bouknight. And those are kind of like the same prototypical shooting guards. And Nick Smith kind of falls into that category too. But with Brandon Miller, I mean, look, he's 6'9". He can get a bucket from anywhere, no pun intended. He got the three-pointer. He got the step backs. He got the crossovers. Yeah, he might struggle finishing at the rim here and there, but I think in due time he'll get it right. But my favorite thing about him is that at 6'9", like, he's a good passer. I think he showed us that at Bama, in high school. He's a willing passer. He's not a selfish player by any means. So I think him and LaMelo are going to have great chemistry. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Charlotte play this year. And they should be a playing team, in my opinion.
They definitely got pieces and all that. And I know I'm big on Scoot. And maybe I think he's going to be maybe like a generational type point guard. Like, I think he's, I know it may be cliche, but I think he's on that Derrick Rose, John Morant. Like, it's there. I think it's there and all that. Like, I know you worry about the shooting, but those two guys came into the same came into the league kind of the same things, and they did. Derrick Rose, MVP, John Moran, it was all NBA type player, MVP trajectory and all that. So I'm not really worried. I think could be the face of a franchise, and I was just so high on him, and it's not like I had them far. It's not like I had like Brandon Miller like 8th and all that, and for most people like. There wasn't Brandon Miller was either 2 or 3 on most people's on most teams' board. So it wasn't like they went crazy, it wasn't like a typical Charlotte thing, right? So they took a position of need that was also a top 2-3 player. So they fit. And then as you saw the rest of their draft, you kind of like, all right, you kind of like, okay, they did good and all right. So I think Charlotte, maybe finally figured it out. And my big thing was just the optics, right? Because it's like, you don't need any more bad pub. Like, you need to figure it. Like, you need some positivity in Charlotte right now because it's just all negative right now. So, but it seems like they're figuring it out and putting things. And like with getting Nick Smith where they got him, I know we're not even talking about that yet, but to get Nick Smith at 27, to get a guy who was a top 5 recruit coming into the country, to get him at 27. And to know that you didn't really get to see the full Nick Smith this year. Like, because first of all, he was playing with, and even if we did, you wouldn't still have seen the full because he's playing with Anthony Black, Ricky Council, they had a bunch of guys. So we weren't going to feel so like to get him that late, you might get someone and you might get a steal. So I think Charlotte did pretty well. The Blazers took Scoot. So, and that's also like a big thing because now I know you're tired of the Dame stuff. But I know you're tired of it, but I know it could mean good things for you, for your team. And I know I think he will be, playing in Miami next season. But, now Dame's not talking to them and all that because of what they've done. And because it wasn't that they kept 3, but like there was like, all right, maybe they'll trade, I think 23. They kept that pick, to Chris Murray, which I think that's a good pick.
That's a good pick too.
It's a really good pickup. So we'll see what happens. I still can't see a way where we're going to see Shaedon, Dame, Anthony Simons, and Scoot on the court. Yeah. Like, and I think we've talked about it, and I've talked about it. I was like, we know what the Blazers want. The Blazers are just saying, "Go, we're letting go. Come on, bro." Like, let us just do let us rebuild. Let us do our thing here, babe. We appreciate you. You want to go to Miami? We'll take whatever the hell they give us. And I've been telling people that, like, I don't think Dame's going to go for as much as people are saying. I believe that he's going to go for not as little as Beal because that was a different situation as far as like, his contracts, and the no trade clause. But I don't think he'll get traded as much as people think. Like, it might just be in a couple players and expiring and a couple picks and boom, that's it. Like, it's not going to be 4 swaps, all this, all that. It's going to be that. So I think Scoot going to Blazers that's a franchise. That's your franchise. I think he's your franchise. He's your franchise piece for that. But you think he's the franchise?
Yeah, him and Shaedon. As a duo, that's gonna be fun to watch. Like, that's fun. Blazers fans should be excited to watch that. But like, when it comes to the Dame thing, I'm not even gonna hit on the Miami thing. To me, it's just like more than anything, it's best for him to just leave so you can let them rebuild. You know what I'm saying? You put him in a weird position where it's like y'all kind of just stuck in the middle. But like, if you leave, it's beneficial for both sides. You know what I'm saying? You can go to a championship contending team, and they could start with this rebuild with guys like Scoot, Shaedon Sharpe, Chris Murray, and a couple other guys. And so I like what they've done, man. It's going to be interesting, but like, again, just Scoot and Shaedon alone, that's a lot of highlights. That's a lot of above the rim plays. That duo is going to have great chemistry once they develop it. So Portland, I mean, again, they're in that weird situation because of Dame right now, but like, if they move on him or from him, away from him, I think eventually they will this offseason. I mean, they'll be in a rebuild, but it's gonna be fun. Like, you're gonna sell tickets with Scoot and Shaedon Sharpe alone. You're gonna sell tickets. Now, what you put around those guys, like Chris Murray, is a great piece to put around them. That's gonna be the biggest thing because that's your foundational backcourt. When you look at the up and coming backcourts, just in the league in general, not even just the Western Conference alone, like the potential that one has. And I don't even like using that word that much, but just like the upside of that duo could be very scary. And like, 3 to 4 years from now. So I love that. I think the Blazers really hit with that pick. You can't pass on a pick like Scoot Henderson, bro. You just can't. He's been nice for a long time. It's the reason he left high school when he was 17 years old. I believe he was a junior, and he spent time with the G League Ignite, and he maximized it. In them games where he matched up against Victor, he was just as good as him every single time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So to me, it was never like a big gap. Like I know those two were like the top tier. Most people kind of had like Victor a little bit better, but to me, I don't even think it's that big of a difference in my opinion. So I'm excited to watch the future of that Blazers organization.
I think they're both going to be perennial All-Stars.
Yeah,
I think we're going to see them in the All-Star games a bunch of times. We're going to see them in MVP races. I really believe that. I truly believe that, and that's why That's why I was like, he's just second best player in the class, and I think there's a nice gap between him and Miller to me as far as 2-3. So that's why I was just like, if I'm Charlotte, you just take the guy that you feel like can be an all-star, regardless of fit. Like you'll make it work, and if not, hey, you figure out, dude, maybe LaMelo, you got to play the ball. With LaMelo, we gonna trade you or something like that. Like I feel like Scoot was that, but the Blazers got their guy, and we'll see what happens. If this means that we're gonna see Dame, maybe he's gonna be in South Beach. Don't go to Brooklyn though. Sorry, Brooklyn fans.
No.
We don't want to go to Brooklyn.
Nothing there.
You don't want to be like with PG. Like nobody cares about the Clippers and all that. No. Like, you don't want to be the second seed. You want to go to the. I believe that he wanted to be a Knick. I truly believe Dame wanted to be a Knick, but Jalen Brunson, his star, rose obviously this year, and I think there's just no way you could have both of them and all that. And I don't think the Knicks want to go trade a bunch of picks and players to get another 6'1" guard, because then your backcourt's getting cooked, that. So I think he wanted to be a Knick, but I think eventually he's gonna be a Heat. But we'll talk about. But the Thompson twins go back to back. We kind of knew a man was going to Houston, right? That was probably like a lock. We kind of felt that was the case. We know what he could do with the ball and saying that's going to be fun, but we'll talk about that in a second. But obviously, Ausar going to the Detroit Pistons. Not that this was like a shocker, but we kind of felt this was Cam range, and now obviously we know Cam dropped, and he's going to be a teammate of a man and all that. But the twins going back to back, it's happened before with the Morris twins, right? The Morris twins went back to back, and we've had twins in the league before. We had, the Lopez twins and all that. Did the Harrison twins get drafted? Did one get drafted, or I don't remember if one got drafted. I know one was one was a second round pick at least. They might have both, but I know they play in the league, but I don't remember if one got drafted and all that. But obviously we've had twins play. Any other twins? I'm not missing, right? There's no other twins, right?
I mean, in the league right now,
the Murray. You got Murray. They didn't stop saying draft back, but back to back years, they're all that. Mm-hmm. But back to back picks, top 5.
Yeah,
I don't think that's ever happened. So that's pretty cool. And then it's crazy to think that these were two guys people kind of like we don't know. They played in OTE. They were 20 years old playing against 16-year-olds and all that. And the league, Houston and Detroit said, we don't care. The upside is just. And it is about upside, right? The draft's about upside and all that. So you take the two guys who got crazy bounce, especially a man who could be a 6'8" point guard. I mean, the sky's the limit for him. It's scary how good he could be. He could be like, I don't know. It's really crazy what he could be and all that. And Ausar, I think Ausar is shooting. I think his shooting is going to get better. Because I think he's going to be more of like a catch and shoot. Perimeter guy more than being a ball handler, obviously. Mm-hmm. I think he could do some, secondary playmaking and all that in Detroit. But, obviously he took that. And, if Cade is healthy, if Jade and Ivy's there, they got Jalen Duren, over there, they could. Detroit, they got Monty there now. They got some good coaching there. So, they be able to do some things. The Magic take Anthony Black. I've kind of felt like we all penciled him into Washington and all that, and obviously it changed once Beal and all that. But Orlando, they needed a point guard because I don't think they believe in Suggs and Cole Anthony. I think Cole Anthony's probably more of like a scoring guard off the bench and all that. But a lot of people were a little uproar about Anthony Black. So how'd you feel about this? Orlando taking Anthony Black.
I loved it. Me personally, I probably would have preferred Shafino right there. I know he went later, but me personally, I would have taken Shafino right there because they just needed that. Like their biggest needs were point guard and shooting, and they tried to address those both with Anthony Black and Jett Howard. And to me, I like that pick just because, yeah, the spacing isn't great as of right now, right? You got Paolo, you got Franz Wagner, your boy Wendell Carter Jr. had a big time year this year, and they got some other players here and there. But
don't the Bulls regret that trade?
Man,
because they lost Wendell Carter, right, and the draft rights to Franz,
multiple first round picks. So to me, Anthony Black is that guy, and especially in that situation, because if he would have went to like Washington, maybe even Utah, they kind of would have needed him to be that guy. In Orlando, he just has to be a solid point guard, and I think as a playmaker, he's better than Suggs and Cole Anthony. I don't really count Markelle Fultz in that group just because me personally, I think Markelle Fultz is one of the best. Like if you put him as a backup point guard, to me he could be one of the best backup point guards in the league. He's perfect for that.
He could
exactly,
be a 6-man of the year.
Exactly. That to me, that's the perfect role. And it's not a knock on Markelle. I just think to run a second unit, he would be the perfect guy to do that, right? So you put Anthony Black in the starting lineup again. You got Paulo, you got Franz, you got a couple other guys here and there. They're going to need the spacing. Again, that's probably why they got Jett. But to me, the way that he can just see over defenses, he's 6'7", he plays hard as hell, he rebounds, he guards his butt off. Like, he does everything a coach wants from him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he does everything. It's not like he has a toughness. To me, the biggest thing with him is the intangibles. Like, he's tough as hell. You don't ever have to worry about him, like, quitting. Like, people don't even know. For a majority of the season at Arkansas, he was dealing with the ankle injury. And he was pushing through it. And Musk kept saying it, like, in their post-game press conferences, like, yeah, salute to Anthony Black because he doesn't have to play, but he's still pushing, like, because he knew his team needed him. And I salute things like that. That's why, we'll talk about Nick Smith, but I respect guys for just trying to push through it, even if it, doesn't come to their benefit as an individual player. But to me, I love this pick, man. People are overthinking it. Anthony Black's going to be fine. He's 6'7", folks. He's 6'7". He's a 6'7" point guard.
Yo, the lineups they can be able to create potentially, right? And when we even get into, taking Jett, but like Jett's 6'8", Anthony Black 6'8", Paolo's what 6'10",
Franz 6'9".
Franz is 6'9", 6'10", Wendell Carter's 7-footer. Like they could have some monster lineups and all. And like you said, Anthony Black, one of the things probably a lot of people got on was the shooting. And like you said, had he gone to Washington, had he gone to Utah, two teams he was mocked a lot too, and would have been, they would have expected him to carry, maybe be the face of the franchise at this point, especially with Washington and all that, with all the changes they made. It would have been more pressure to try to, take. You probably would have took more shots, and it probably, affected. People look at his field goals, and now you don't have to worry about that.
Nope.
He's and he can easily graduate. He's going to get a lot more easier shots because now we all know Paolo last year was the number one option as a rookie.
Exactly.
And people I remember people with Paolo were like, "Oh, he shot 41%." I was like, "Bro, he was the number one option as a 19-year-old kid."
Come
on,
man.
They all hit their wall, and he's still getting double teamed and all that. So you put things in perspective. Now Anthony Black don't have to worry about because now Paolo's coming into year 2 and he's gonna be a monster. He might be an all-star next year. I think he will be, and all that. And now you got more shooting. They added Jett Howard. Now let's talk about that. Let's talk about Jett going 11. It may have been a little high for I had him in the 20s on my board, but they needed shooting, and they felt like he was the best shooter, and maybe they think there's more to his game. And I think they probably think that there's more to it, especially now that you got who they got. We just talked about what they got on their team. So maybe they're like, maybe we took him a little high, but we feel like with the guys around him, there's more to it. He may be able to get to the basket a little bit more and all that. And we can hide his defense because his defense isn't great and all that, but he's 6'8", 6'9", and can get a bucket. He can get a bucket, So how'd you feel about Jett going to 11 to Orlando?
Interesting to say the least. It's not bad. It's just that to me and probably to most people out there, Grady's a better shooter in my opinion. I think Jordan Hawkins, you can make a case that he's the best shooter. They went a couple picks after him. Jordan went to New Orleans, Grady went to Toronto. But I see the vision though, because Jett can shoot the ball, right? Yeah. And one of the biggest things working in his favor is that his pops was like a 21-year veteran in the NBA. So
19-year vet.
exactly. So if anybody's prepared to take the leap, is Jett Howard, right? Because he's been in the NBA
He's
world
got
and
all that
lifestyle.
knowledge, that free
Exactly.
knowledge.
And people take it into account, but they don't really understand the full aspect of that, right? Juwan, again, as you just said, Juwan was in the league for damn near 2 decades. So that's a ton of experience just right there. So Jett, to me, your job is easy, bro. You just got to sit in the corner, be ready to catch and shoot. And sometimes here and there, you're going to have to put the ball on the floor, get to the rack, or you're going to have to put the ball on the floor and make a play for someone else. It's that simple. Defensively, that was kind of the biggest knock on him because he wasn't always engaged. He wasn't always locked in. It kind of felt like he took plays off. But I think it's something there with Jett that you'll see a rise in him in the NBA compared to his one single season at Michigan. Like, he's one of those dudes where I truly think you're going to see the best version of him in the NBA. So I honestly see the vision, man. I'm not too critical of it like a lot of people were last night, but I mean, again, I do think Grady and Jordan Hawkins are better shooters. Grady's probably the more complete player of those three when it comes to just all around. But Jett, it is something too, Jett. It's a reason Juwan, obviously not just because he's his son, but it's the reason Juwan ran the offense through this dude for the most part after Hunter Dickinson, right? So he has some things there. So for Orlando, if they feel confident in it, rock with it. It's not like you need him to be, again, you don't need him to be great because you got your foundational pieces already. So it's just about, plugging him in and making him be a solid contributor.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like I said, you could agree or disagree, think whether it's, they reached and all that, but it definitely was a need. A team need, and needed shooting and all that. And they probably feel comfortable that everything else that maybe he needed to work on is going to come into its own. So, they definitely got a nice player. Were there any other shocks to you in the lottery? I felt like the lottery, usually you get that one shocker and all that, but I feel like, and maybe Jett was that shocker, but I don't think it was too crazy because he always had some lottery buzz and all that. So in my opinion, I think the top 10 went, no, but Bilal. Let's talk about Bilal. All right.
That's what I was gonna say.
That's why I should have put my glasses on, and saw that I forgot that Bilal Coulibaly went 7th.
Yep.
His rise was crazy. I remember maybe not like a month ago, Kev, probably second round, and then little by little, boom, boom, boom. He had that one game where he had like 18, 10. He had like a crazy game from Metropolitan 92, and went up. He's gonna be top 20, and then you hear he's locked lottery, and then like a couple days ago, you're like he's not dropping past like 7 or 8. I'm like, wow. And it's like the power of Victor Wembanyama. I mean, if there's a man that benefited off Victor Wembanyama, is Bilal Coulibaly. He goes 7th in the trade. He went to the Pacers, and he's gonna be going to the Wizards in the trade. Which for Jarice Walker. So Bilal Coulibaly, 7th pick. There is the shocker. That's the shocker. Well, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? Because like I forgot who posted this on Twitter, and they were right. They're like 33 picks better than Maxwell Lewis.
Simon tweeted,
Simon. And I was like, that's crazy because I think I had them like back to back in my big board, and I was like, yeah, that 33 picks better. We thinking that? Like, are we buying the hype? Like, talk to me, bro, because that was the one that was like, all right, that's crazy. That's Victor Wembanyama juice. That's all that has all that. So how you feel about Bilal going 7th?
And I think that plays a part into it. When you're playing with a guy like that, you go back to when Anthony Davis came out. Let's call a spade a spade. Nothing against the dude, but Michael Kidd-Gilchrist benefited a lot off of Anthony Davis. Like, if I'm being honest with you, he was a good player. I'm not gonna say or act like he was just trash, but he went what, 2, right? So
he went 2 back to back Kentucky.
Yeah, he benefited off that. But and it's the same thing in this situation. So I think dude is good. Bilal is a good player. I'm not gonna sit here and deny that.
No.
The thing is though, exactly. The thing is though, again, they're betting on potential, right? Just like most of these teams are, but they're really betting on with him especially because you just moved off of one of your pillars of your franchise in Bradley Beal. And on top of that, you're going into a whole new reset with a whole new front office. And you're trying to give fans of the Wizards in the DMV some signs of hope, some life of hope, right? They need anything. They need a pulse. They need a heartbeat. Right now, your franchise is based off Bilal and Denny Abdia. You got some solid pieces between
And
Daniel
maybe Kuzma
Gafford.
comes back. Maybe Kuzma comes
Maybe
back.
I don't think he will, but maybe it's a chance that he does.
If
Right?
they give him the bag, he coming back.
Yeah, for sure. I don't disagree with that, but it can work out. The biggest concern is just the Wizards draft history, man. It's been rough. It's been
Suspect.
rough. It's been rough. Because even with Corey Kispert, like Corey Kispert was good.
Right, they got Kispert too.
He just
and they took him high too.
They took him over a lot of guys, not a lot of guys, but a few guys. Because I think Trey Murphy was not too far behind him, alongside a couple other guys.
He didn't even get a draft invite, bro. Trey Murphy.
That's what I'm saying. And it's not even like these guys are bad players. It's just that when you draft them so high, the expectation raises. And so I'm hoping it works out for him. Again, he's going to be playing with a younger team. He's going to have guys like Monte Morris. I think they're probably going to trade your guy Tyus Jones again, so we'll see how that pans out. But, I mean, it's the Wizards. Like I said, he's going to have plenty of room to make mistakes. He's going to have plenty of opportunity to bump his head, to get knocked off his pivot, to figure things out and adapt to the NBA world and life. But the biggest thing, again, is like, if you're the Wizards, I respect the Wizards for just saying, forget it, coming in, Michael Winger, Will Dawkins, shout out to my guy Wayne Cole, for just coming in and saying, forget it, we're just going to start from scratch. Blank canvas, let's figure it out, right? So Bilal, he's going to be a big-time face of this. And so I have hope that he will figure it out, and it's up to them to just continue to add pieces to build around him if he is or ends up being that guy.
Yeah. This one I thought the Wizards figured it out. They did this, man. It was, to me, it's a reach. It's a big reach. I now the pressure is going to be on him, because now the Wizards are going to be like, all right, we need a franchise piece, and they're going to look at him as a franchise piece, and he's a top 10 pick, and once you get that label, it don't matter whether it's fair or not. They're going to want to see results, and it could be years where we see results. Like, he's so raw. He's super raw and all that. Like, that's why I thought if he's in the 20s, like, that's perfect, because then you have reasonable expectations. When you overdraft, now you're putting him in a tough situation and all that. And especially when you're rebuilding, that's tough, because they're going to be trash. they're going to be bad. They're going to be bad, and it might be bad for a while.
I didn't even mention they traded for Jordan Poole. That's what I was blanking on.
And you got Jordan Poole. He's chucking. He gonna have a Jerry Stackhouse 2001 season where he just gonna average 30 off like 40% shooting, 33% three. But he's just gonna score. And then if you add Kuzma, let's say if they bring back Kuzma now, all right, now then he's gonna try to ball out too, because he ended the season good. He gonna want a contract now.
Yep.
So now you gotta those. That's the thing I was thinking about, like all those factors. Those guys are gonna want theirs and all that. So it's like, I don't know. That's tough. That's tough to forget a project like that. I understand they're rebuilding and all that, but it's tough to people are gonna be impatient, with top 10 picks and all that. So, and he could be honest, but he also could be out of the league in 4 years. So I don't think there's an in-between with Bilal. I think he's just one of those. It's either he going to be an all-star, or he going to be back in France, So the hype was high. It definitely was high and all that. So, but other than that, I don't think there was any shockers in the lottery. I think Jordan Hawkins went in the range we thought. Derek Lively will be a Dallas Maverick. After all, he went 12, but then he's going to trade with OKC. So I think Dallas got them. Dallas did good too, man.
Got Omax Prosper too. Or
they
traded him.
Well,
no, they got him.
They traded for him. They traded for him. They
for
traded him with for
Sacramento.
Bert. So Dallas, that's exactly what they needed. They needed a guy just to defend and all that. And then you got a rim runner like that, if he could figure things out. I mean, Dallas, they got some two good young pieces there. So they did all right and all that. But let's talk about your Miami Heat. Picked up a player who I think fits. I think a lot of people, when they saw Jaime Jaquez go, and they're like, oh, maybe he could have been a second round and all that. But, we talk about those players that, even in football, right? You talk about like, there's Eagles players that just fit the mold and all that, right? There's the Patriot way. Like Belichick targets certain players, and the NBA is the same way. The Spurs look for certain type of players that fit their mold. And we saw in their draft, they did the same. And Miami gets players that fits their mold. And you guys are having a first round picks like that, but this one, and you guys won the pick in Jaime Jaquez. I think he was the first senior that went. At this point. So, how do you feel about Jaime? UCLA. He can score and all that. How do you feel like he fits with the Miami Heat?
I love this pick. And it's funny because I tweeted about him earlier in the day about being excited to see him because I've watched this dude since he was in high school. He went to Camarillo High School, had a successful career there. I think it was his junior summer going into his senior year. He played on the Adidas circuit called Team EBO, and he was with Jalen Green, and he was the best player on that team. And I'm not gonna say it wasn't close, but he was clearly the better player on that team. And for him, big body dude, plays the right way, gets into the paint, always plays off 2 feet, excellent court vision, really good playmaker. Mick Cronin assigned him as a secondary playmaker after Tiger Campbell this year, right? Helped lead the team to a Final Four a few years ago. Obviously, they had John Juzang, went crazy, but he was just as good, during that season. And to me, again, the moment he got that green room invitation, I was like, oh yeah, it's a great chance that we draft him because he like you said, he fits the bill. He is a Miami Heat player through and through, bro. And I love it because he has a high winning pedigree. To me, he just screams Heat culture. I know it's gonna sound corny and cliche and all those things, but he just screams he plays the game how Eric Spoelstra wants it to play, how it wants it to be, right? He said he models the game after Jimmy Butler. Another guy that they just play off 2 feet. They love to pump fake. They love to get to that mid-range game. They play cool, calm, and collected. They're rarely sped up. So to me, it fit the bill. Now, me personally, I'm not going to sit here and lie to y'all. I was hoping that Jalen Hood-Schifino fell. The Lakers took him a pick before. Then I was then hoping we got Cam Whitmore. But when I seen it was Jaime, I was like, I love it. I honestly love it because he is what we need, especially because we need guys that are capable of getting to the rim and making plays in the paint. We don't have too many guys outside of Bam and Jimmy that are capable of doing that on the current roster right now. And Caleb Martin here and there. So I love it. Shout out to Jaime. Again, he stayed the course. And I think that's one of my biggest things about the draft the past few years is that seeing guys that are not just one and dones, but have stayed in school for a little bit longer get that love. I love that. That's one of my favorite things. So shout out to him, 4-year player, senior, one of the oldest dudes, as you said, 22 years young. I love it. He should have a great, nice career in Miami.
Yeah. And I think, for a team like you guys who just came off the NBA Finals, you want players that you'd be able to potentially come in and can contribute potentially. I mean, I'm sure it would have sounded good to maybe get some of those other guys, but maybe they, it would have taken them a few more years simply because of the team you have. They're not a young, if you're a young team, then it makes sense to take a risk on Cam and all that. But you guys, you know how you guys rock and all that, and you need guys who can potentially you'll play 15 minutes on a night on a nightly basis, and then I think Jaime can definitely come in and do that. He can score and all that, get to the bucket, has 6 foot 6'8", 6'9", has the size and all that, and definitely has played a lot of high level basketball, which is what you guys definitely were probably looking at. So he definitely fits the mold. He Mexicano too, so he's gonna fit in right well within Miami and all that. So that's a good pickup and all that. I definitely think that. Let's talk about and I don't think there was a lot of big shockers there us in the first round. Kobe Brown went 30th to the Clippers. I know he was probably in the 30s or 40s. But not a big shocker that he went 30. Ben Shepherd going to the Pacers, but they had a billion picks, so they were probably going to take one, someone like that, with one of their picks and all that. Derek going to the Nets, I think that's a good for them and all that. But Gigi didn't go in the first round and all that, and there was rumors that he was going to drop, he was going to fall and all that. And he wound up going all the way to the Grizzlies in the second round. All right, so he gonna be there. But now they got Marcus Smart there, So it may have not sound out, but how do you feel about Gigi and just the journey he's been through? This kid was the number one when we talked about Gigi on the last show. But just being the number one player, going to go to North Carolina, reclassifying, going to go to South Carolina and all that. And we've talked about South Carolina it sounded good because you're going to play and you're going to be the guy, but And not that going to North Carolina was going to be better because it might have been the same stuff. It made me
Yep.
worse because now we don't even, it would have been him not playing at all and him being more frustrated and, maybe he's not even drafted or he's in the transfer portal or something. Maybe, but the importance of picking the right school, especially if you're going to be one and done,
Yep.
because now you have the transporter. So if you think that 1 year messed up and all that, maybe, and now it's probably we probably looking at like, maybe he should have went to the portal because if he goes to the portal, maybe let's say he goes Michigan State, let's say for instance, or goes to Duke, our teams. You can't tell me next year he's not a lock first round pick and all that. Maybe we're talking about him in the lottery and all that. And now we know that road as a second round pick. It's now you're in your 2-way contract and you're gonna be spending time in the G League and all that, and you go from being the guy and to now you got to fight your way to make the league now. So how we feel about Gigi going to the Grizzlies?
Man, it's weird because, like you said, he could have went back to school, entered that transfer portal, went to a better situation. I think it really boils down to him just not going to the right school, man. And it's nothing against Lamont Paris. It's nothing against the University of South Carolina. Mm-hmm. It's just that you're playing for one, you're going back home where all the pressure's on you, right? 2, you're playing for a first-year head coach in a situation, right? 3, you're playing in one of the toughest conferences in all of college basketball. And 4, you're playing in one of the worst situations in college basketball when it comes to South Carolina. Because let's be honest, they don't really get too much talent out of South Carolina.
But when was the last time they were good? When what's his face? Frank Martin was the coach. They beat us. They beat us.
Yeah, 2017, I believe it was. PJ.
And that was it though. They had that 1 year, and then after that, they were garbage again.
Yeah, so it's like it's just a tough job, bro. That's all it comes down to. Like Frank Martin did a good job, but it's one of them jobs where it's not a stable job. So it's nothing against Gigi for that. Like kids make mistakes all the time. Like we'll talk about Julian Phillips, but to me, I actually like it because Memphis is one of the best developmental organizations in the NBA.
That is true. Hey, look what they got out of Dylan Brooks. We could talk all we want about Dylan Brooks and all the antics and all that, but they squeezed all the juice out of Dylan Brooks as being a second-round pick.
Exactly. And you look at guys like Brandon Clark, my guy Xavier Tillman. They got other guys, Concar, Kennedy Chandler, they think they have trust in. I know they just traded for Marcus Smart. I like that move to give him a veteran locker room presence, good for the atmosphere in the community. So I like it. And for Gigi, if you can just spend the biggest thing is he hasn't matured, right? That's the biggest thing. He had them comments. I think that kind of backfired on him a little bit. Not a little bit, but a lot of bit. He just hasn't matured in it. And he's only 18. He's only 18, 19. So it's like
he's the youngest player in the draft.
So it's like telling him to mature. It's like it's obvious. He knows he needs to mature. So that's going to be the biggest thing. Second thing is that he's probably going to spend some time in the G League. But again, that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing because you're in a situation in Memphis where they're dying for a wing like you. You're a 6'8", 6'9" wing that can create a bucket off the dribble. You have the fadeaways. You got the step backs now. Early in your career, you're not going to be able to take that many shots. You're going to have to get your shots off of Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. But he can catch and shoot. So I'm going to give him a couple years. And I do think Gigi will crack the rotation. If he doesn't crack the rotation there, I definitely think he'll find another landing spot within the NBA. But to me, it was just unfortunate because I just don't like guys rushing the process. Like, stay true to your process. I know, he didn't really want to stick around for his senior year in high school, but if you were to stay on your timing, especially because next year's draft,
that's what next
year's draft is so much more, with all due respect, is so much more weaker than this year's class. It's much more opportunity for guys that.
But do you think, and no one told them, because they've been saying this since I remember for like 4 years, they're like, yo, 2023 is going to be, because we all know about Victor as like, and this Scoop kid, like, but like the next year is going to be kind of weak. You don't think no one said, yo, maybe you should just stay the course, and in 2024, dude, you might be the number 1 pick.
The opportunity's there, because when you look at it right now, you're seeing guys like Ron Holland and Matas Buzelis and DJ Wagner and Isaiah Collier. All these guys are good, but as we all know, like we were talking about mock drafts, like a lot of these mock drafts be off base, right? One, and especially a mock draft a year ahead of the actual draft,
It's crazy.
they always age like milk. So it's like,
Yeah.
to me, the opportunity was there, man. And again, it's not the end of the world because he's in a good situation. Kind of like Emoni Bates, who I know we'll touch on too. They're
Mhm.
in solid situations. So yeah, they probably didn't get it drafted as high as they probably imagined or dreamed of as kids.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
luckily, they fell into good spots where they can maximize their talent, their potential, and their spot and make as much money as possible. Because to me, again, Memphis needs wings, right? They got rid of Kyle Anderson a year ago. They're getting rid of Dylan Brooks. Who else they have right now? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? They got
And
Desmond
you get
Bain.
paid. Listen, it's a second round pick. You hit it. You hit restricted free agency a year earlier than as a first round pick.
Yep.
So if you hooping, you get paid. You get paid quicker. So that's how you have to look at it. If you're GG, like yeah, of course, everybody wants to be a first round pick. Like we saw Cam. Like I'm sure he was like, I was supposed to be a top 5 pick, and he went 20, and he's still a first round pick. But I'm sure he's frustrated that he wasn't in the top 5 and all that, or at least a lottery pick. You know that. So if you're GG, it's like, and you thought at one point I was gonna be a top 5 pick, and or at least now I might at least a top 20. I'm gonna at least be a first round, and then you drop to in the 40s. The only way you could take it, and the only way you should take it is like, all right, they think that I don't play defense, that I'm just gonna be upset because I ain't gonna have the ball in my hand. I'm gonna be lackadaisical and all that. I'm not gonna come into shape. Well, I gotta prove them wrong. I'm gonna work. There's an opportunity for me to play because there's a spot open there, you know, and their our best player is gonna be out 25 games, so they're gonna need scoring. This is my opportunity, you know, and like you said, like I just said, free agency, you second round pick, you hit free agency quicker, you know, than you would be a first round pick. So there's still opportunity to get that money that you thought you lost and all that. So that's how you have to look at it. Or else if he's not looking at it that way, Kev, then we might be seeing him in the NBL or something. He might be out of the league quicker than if he wasn't first. We talked about maybe quick as a first round pick that he could potentially be out of the league. Second round pick, he might not even make it a league year. Like if they see it right away, they might be like, "Hey, man, damn, we thought talent, but he's not working," and that's it. That could be a wrap for him.
And just because things didn't play out the way that they envisioned doesn't mean that the goals change, bro. It's the same exact thing. Just keep going, bro. Like the opportunity. That's why it's like, again, it sucks that he probably didn't get it drafted as high as he imagined it. But you're in a like we're both saying, you're in a great situation. You have a chance to maximize your situation. So
playoff team.
If you're GG, bro, just stay the course, bro. That's the most basic thing I could tell you, bro.
Yep. 100%. I agree with you that he needs to stay the course, and if he has that mindset, then he's gonna be right because now he's gonna be around a team that no playoff experience, and you got Marcus Smart coming there. He gonna get in his ass, you know. So that this could be a blessing in disguise for him, you know. So I'm obviously, you know, I have GG as a top 15 player. I still think he's a top 5 talent in this draft, but you know he's going to get a Grizzly at 45, you know. But I think he'll make the best of it. Hopefully he does. 49, the Emoni Bates going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. There was especially chatter that there was a shot that he probably wouldn't even hear his name called, but the Cavs, I think this is another good spot for him too. I think they both went to spots that where I'm like, okay, I think they can thrive in these situations or at least have some success, you know, and maybe even help these teams, you know, because the Cavs need some wing. They need some wing presence and all that, and they need someone who could score. You know, other than Donovan and Garland, they need someone else who can score, and that's what they miss sorely, especially against the Knicks and all that. So Emoni going there, not like I said, kind of the same thing we talked about with GJ, and maybe even greater because Emoni was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. You know, supposed to be that dude. Another case of reclassifying didn't work out at Memphis. Another dude, if he stays the course, 2024, but. It happened and all that, but Emoni going to the Cavs. How do you like this fit for Cleveland in Emoni Bates?
I love it for both parties just because, first of all, we all know. I mean, the measurements when it comes to his wingspan aren't the greatest. He got baby arms, right? I'm not gonna sit here and deny that. Like that can potentially hurt him because not only do they need a wing that could help space the floor with Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, but they need somebody that could guard at a high level too, especially in that East. I mean, when you already have a small backcourt like that, you need somebody that can guard. So those are the negatives. But on the bright side of things, as you just mentioned, if he can just be capable of knocking down some shots, putting the ball on the floor here and there, trying a little bit to play defense. That's it. You'll get some minutes.
Just because listen, he don't have to do that much because you got 2 7-footers behind you.
Exactly. So literally, even better. I wasn't even thinking of that. Great point. So with that, it's like just try, and JB Bickerstaff's going to give you the opportunity because one thing he does, he plays his young guys. See, that's what he's done. It's probably cost him his job in a couple other situations, but he plays his young guys. So you're gonna have that, and just rebound here and there and do the little things. I mean, I can say this for anybody, but specifically for Emoni, because I know his game is based on and predicated off him scoring. Don't let your scoring impact your attitude ever. Exactly. If you're not getting touches, don't get negative. If your shot's not falling, don't get negative. Keep your chin up. Keep your head held high and understand that your opportunity's coming. Your opportunity's already here. Now it's time for you to keep working on it. And, yeah, it's going to be some bumps in the road. He's gone through plenty of them. Like you said, he was once committed to Michigan State. He had his own school, his own high school. You know, he went to Memphis where it didn't work out. Everything went to the crap. He caught the gun charge once he goes to Eastern Michigan. He's back home. Like, he's already been through hell and back for the most part, right? So it's like, it's nothing that you can't beat. It's no darkness that you can't conquer. So now it's all about, bro, you're here. This is what you dreamed about.
Just hope. That's it, man.
I'm done right there. You said it.
Just hope. That's all you got to worry about now. It's none of that other stuff, all that old other stuff that some of it you couldn't control because you know how the media does, and they just put all those labels on you as far as you're going to be the next Kevin Durant, right? It's all we heard. He's going to be KD. He's going to be KD. He's the next superstar, you know, phenom and all that. Now you just say, you go into camp, and like you said, the things listen, let's be real. You got Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland on the team. Guess what? You're not going to have the ball in your hand. So you're not going to have the freedom like you had at Eastern Michigan. It's not going to happen. So you're going to have to work on the little things. You know, if you want to get on the court, you're going to have to do the little things. Guard a little bit. You know, rebound a little bit. You know, do those things. You know, then get you on the court. And then once you get comfortable, then maybe Donovan's going to trust you in big moments. Darius going to give you the rock, you know, late in the games. Coach going to trust you to go play late minutes with those guys. You know? So the same thing applies with Gigi, too. It's Gigi and Emoni. Stay the course. Focus. Do the little things, man. Do the little things. You're not the star no more. And you're not going to get trust. You have to earn that trust. You know, and it could happen. You could be at 20. Sure. You could be Paul George and eventually. You know, Paul George had to go, you know, those guys, those type of players, the Kawhis and all that. Like, they little by little, and then boom, they earn that trust, and then boom, they take off. And they become all-star level players. But you got to do the little things to be able to and earn that trust from your team and your coaches. And then, because we know the talent's there. We know you could score and all that, but you got to do the other things in the NBA to be able to get to that level where you think you could be. So, you know, I think they're both in two good situations. So I think I'm rooting for both of them because they're both extremely talented kids. And, you know, the pressure of being a highly ranked recruit and all that's a lot and all that. And I think we forget that these are kids. They young kids. And, you know, we know how, you know, feelings can get, you know, hit and all that when you're the guy. And then now you go and now people are doubting you already and all that. So rooting for both of them. I think they're both in pretty good situations. And I'm looking forward to how they play in summer league, how they come, you know, and I'm sure they're going to do work. Keontae Johnson getting drafted, I think that's just a beautiful story. I mean, we saw what happened in Florida, you know, got the heart condition, collapse and all that. Scary. Didn't think he ever played basketball again, and has a absolutely phenomenal, you know, season last year at Kane State with Jerome and all that. You know, tremendous season. And he gets drafted going to the Thunder. Just the fact that he got drafted, that's give a round of applause for that, because that was special, you know. And I think he could contribute. I think he could be a solid player for them. I think he'd be a solid player for them. Was there anyone else that Trace Jackson going second to last? He even tweeted like, "Yo, y'all messed up."
Yeah.
Yo, Trace Jackson going second to last. Chris Livingston, the last pick in the second round. Isaiah Wong going to the Pacers. You know that we said Jalen Clark got drafted. You know, despite the Achilles and all that. Um, you know, but no real crazy, like I said, no crazy surprises and all that. Andre Jackson going to the Magic, you know, Hunter Tyson going to the Thunder, you know, I know there was a bunch of trades. I didn't have that. I have them written down over here, but we don't have to go into that. But were there any surprises that you that weren't drafted for you? I think there's a name. I think
I don't
there's
know
a.
where you're gonna go, but I'm gonna go with your guy, Mike Miles, man.
I was gonna say the same thing. That was
Okay,
kind of
yeah.
surprising.
I just, especially because last year I feel like he was, if he didn't go first round last year, he was for sure going second round, no doubt about it in my
Yeah,
mind, right? So to see that not happen like that, I believe he signed a 2-way contract with
he's
his
going.
hometown
He's going.
Dallas Mavericks.
He will be a
Mm,
Dallas Mavericks. So
so
that's a solid
yeah,
pickup.
another guy like bro, high level guard, really good playmaker. You know, if he just defends, he'll be straight. You know, Dallas isn't really the market for guards right now because they got two of the better ones in the league. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if he just, you know, especially with Jaden Hardy there too. But I mean, another guy like he could be in the G League for a little bit, but I could see him working his way back up. Torquavion's another one, but I kind of see him with Torquavion just because he's not the playmaker like that. Like his
He's
game
a
is
scorer.
fully exactly. So with Mike, he's both. You know what I'm saying? Teams value that. He can score at a high level and he knows when to play make. At TCU, he kind of had to score a lot because they didn't really have another big time scorer next to him like that. So in the NBA, he won't have to worry about that because you're playing with the best of the best. So I
Mm-hmm.
was very surprised by that because again, if he stays in last year, I mean he's back in first round, he's second round, like he's getting drafted if he goes last year. So it's unfortunate, but I'm not worried about him. You know, he's a grinder. He's probably been through worse. So, you know, Mike Miles, it was a surprise, but I think he'll be all right, man.
Yeah. I mean, it usually something like happen. We always see like a player we think gonna get drafted, get out drafted. So like it's just how the NBA draft rolls. But yeah, I think Mike Miles he went to a good spot, so I think he picked a good team to go to in Dallas and all that. Like he gonna learn from Luca and Kyrie and all that. And like I said, he's gonna be G League. I think he can even see him, you know, get some minutes in the league and all that. So I think that's a good spot, but no real crazy. You know, Trevion and all. Where did Trevion go?
Sixers, Sixers.
Sixers. Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a nice spot for him, especially if no James Harden. That could be something and all that. But there wasn't any crazy. None of the crazy. There was a lot of trades and all that. Obviously, there was a bunch of trades. You know, as far as Jordan Poole, like we mentioned before, Jordan Poole going and all that. Uh, Boston made a billion trades, man. Boston was all over the place. Denver was all over the place. And that's what I like. I like the teams that, hey, just because we're into the, we were in the conference finals and all that, we gonna try to push it, gonna keep making moves. Denver to me was like, they were just like all over. Like I love that. Like they just won the chip, and even if they stay put the way they keep their roster, they're still a title favorite, or at least one of the title favorites. But they're like, nah, we gotta keep improving. Who they drafted in the first round? Julian Strother.
Julian Stroughter,
That's a nice pickup for them. I forgot who else they took in the second round and
Jalen
all that.
Pickett.
Jalen Pickett too. Like that's the first few picks. So like they made moves. Unlike my team, this just did nothing. Did nothing, bro. I'm over here waiting. I'm like, all right, something, right? One of these wings. Because listen, a lot of the wings. All right, so the wing movement really started going off at 29, like where they realistically could have traded up. So 29 to 40. That's where all the wings went. And the Knicks need a wing. And then they nothing, bro. They did nothing. Nothing. I'm like, yo, Leon's sleeping again. He's sleeping. What are you doing? Then they pick up Toppin's little bro. Like they barely like bro now. They're gonna take his little bro. Get out of here. Did you take a non-shooter? I know they picked up my guy from the OTE, but a whole lot of nothing, bro. That's another year where the Knicks just do nothing. Draft. And I just like I'm maybe because I'm like the draft. I'm like, but you telling me there's no one you liked? All these picks you have, and a lot of these picks might not mean nothing because they're all protected as crap. and it could just mean nothing. So like, why not even trade those protected picks that are crazy protections, and try to move up to go one of these kids they could. Yeah, but I don't know. This team is. It stressed me out. I don't get it, man. All these wings, even if you want to take Julian Phillips, Julian Phillips, there's Andre Jackson, Jordan Walsh, Maxwell Lewis. Like Maxwell was dropping. I'm like, bro, you don't go him. Even with Cam, I'm like, bro, Cam's dropping. What's going on here? I'm like, that frustrated me so much. I'm like, I'm seeing championship teams making moves, and we're just nothing. Unless you're telling me we're making a monster move to trade for someone, but like, who is that?
Hope it's not Levine or Cat, man.
If it's Cat, if it's Cat, I'm gonna be sick to my stomach. He don't even like Tibbs. and Zach I forgot that Tibbs traded Levine. Oh man, Kev.
Small world.
It's gonna be rough. It could be rough again, bro. That's why you should be training for Knicks. Any team should be training for Knicks picks right now. Just get in it because it's like you just know. It's about. It's just going. It's just gonna fold. It's gonna fold. It's gonna fold, and we're gonna lose Brunson. I think I already have bad thoughts. Brunson gonna go to Miami. You gonna win a championship for you guys.
Don't think like that, bro. Don't think like that.
I'm a Knicks fan, bro. I have to think like that. You have to think
down the rabbit hole.
He's gonna sign with you guys in 2 years, and
oh my god,
we're gonna have Jacob Toppin at the starting four. Oh man. All right. I'm sick to my stomach. All right, let's talk about. All right, we talked about the draft. Let's talk a little bit about Bob Huggins. Unfortunately, he caught a DUI, and we had talked about, like I said, we talked about this a few shows back. I know I said that I predicted that I don't think he was going to be the head coach third season because he had the incident on the radio station. I think he said a homophobic slur or something like that. Mm-hmm. Something wild. He was talking reckless. And he was talking hella reckless on the radio, and got suspended. And I was like, he's no way he's gonna last. Now I didn't think this was the reason why. I just thought eventually they were just gonna be like, we just gotta go away. But they once this happened, I was like, we both were like, yeah, it's definitely a wrap for him. So Bob Huggins is no longer the coach at West Virginia and all that. And it's kind of, now we got a couple guys back in the transfer who just went to West Virginia, who had I think the number one transfer during transfer portal class. So it seemed like they were going to have a solid team coming into this season. Especially in the tough Big 12, they were going to be definitely
top five
competing.
For sure.
For sure. They were definitely going to compete and all that. Mm-hmm. So, but now, guys going to transfer portal, and there could be more names. Bob Huggins' era is over at West Virginia. Just give me your thoughts on how Bob Huggins and just everything he's brought to college. But I know there's a lot of negative and all that, but let's try to shine a little bright light on Bob Huggins and just what he's brought to college basketball and into the program, West Virginia.
It's super unfortunate, man. It really is, because like, he's a legend. You never want to see your legends go out like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, eventually we know he's up in age. He's 69. That, to me, that's the biggest thing, is that you're 69 years of age and you're getting a DUI. You're catching a DUI charge. To me, that screams, I need help, right? And so I'm hoping that he does get help. I don't think that should diminish his character by any means. And I'm not here to protect him. He made a stupid decision. Stupid decision. Because now, luckily, it didn't cost anybody their life. It could have cost him his life. Luckily, I believe he popped the tire. He stopped the car. Police asked him to get out. He didn't really know where he was. I think they caught him in like Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. So, unfortunate situation all around, right? Because even right now, in West Virginia, they're losing all their best players. Kirk Crease is in the transfer portal. Jose Perez, I think Raekwon Battle and a couple other guys are waiting to see who they hire next. So before they decide to hit the transfer portal, but Kirk Crease has hit the transfer portal. Joe Toussaint hit the transfer portal. Trey Mitchell hit the transfer portal. Those are three of your top guys right there. So that's the tough part, especially if you're West Virginia's athletic director. You have to either decide if you want to make a move to get a coach who can just – if I was him, I believe his name is Ren Baker. if I was him, I would promote an assistant coach just to play out as an interim for next season because you have a talented team. And it sounds like the players want to play for the assistant coaches. But you also have to think like, okay, do we go get the future long-term coach? So there's that. Those are the two aspects of it. But for Bob Huggins, man, legend in the game, obviously brought this West Virginia program to prominence. It's one of the better jobs. Like, I'll be honest, I have no aspiration of going to West Virginia, the state, but it's a well-respected school because of Bob Huggins. And you go back to the Cincinnati days, he's been at more than a few stops, and he's had impacts at every single place that he's been to. And again, you never want to see your legends go out like that. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a legend. It's sad that this is going to be a huge, huge black spot on his resume, but he did it to himself. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel bad for him. I just wish it didn't happen like this. Again, be smarter for anybody out there. Please don't drink and drive, bro. You're not just putting yourself at risk. You're putting other people at risk. And so just please be cautious, especially these dudes. You're a millionaire, bro. Get an Uber. Call an Uber. It's the most simple thing. If you're drunk, you should still have the brain capacity to call an Uber. So with that, it's just unfortunate, man, because you don't want to see guys go out like that. But I'm praying for him. I'm praying for all the dudes involved at West Virginia that have to now make choices on where they're going to go. Because if we're being honest, like what people don't know, kids don't just commit to schools. They commit to coaches. They commit to coaches. Like, that's the thing. They go there for the coach. And I know it sounds evident, but coaches are much more important than the actual school itself. And so a lot of dudes are going to have to think about their future, where they're going to go next. A lot of assistant coaches are going to figure out, am I going to be here? Do I got to find a new job? It's already June, July. It's tough to get a job right now because most rosters and coaching staffs are secure, looking forward to next season. You know, if you're a manager, you got to think about things like this. So it's a tough position for everybody involved with not only West Virginia athletics, but specifically the West Virginia basketball team. And so, man, like I said, I'm just sending prayers, and I hope it works out for everybody. I hope Bob Huggins gets some help. And for West Virginia, I hope they pivot fast and are able to retain some of this talent because, as we just mentioned, to me, they were clearly going to be a top 5 team in the Big 12, which is going to be another stacked and loaded year in the Big 12 next year.
Yep, it's really unfortunate. Like you said, it's the other thing. It's not even core on court, but like you said, a lot of these players committed to West Virginia not because they wanted to be a Mountaineers, because they wanted to play for Coach Huggins. One of the greatest coaches of all time and all that. And we know what he did on the court, wins and losses and all that, and a lot of the success he's had. But it's unfortunate what happened. It's careless what he did. Like I said, you're making that much money too, like, dog, and I'm sure somebody could have gave you a ride too if that was the case. Like, I'm sure you're a big man on in town, right? You're a legend there, so it's unfortunate. Luckily, nobody was hurt, killed. That's the most important thing, And he, hopefully he gets the help he needs because apparently this has been an issue for a long time for him. So let's hope he gets the help he needs, and focus on that. Focus on your family, and what is he, 69 years old, 67, 69, something like that, I don't know. I'm sure he'll coach somewhere, it may not be high level D1, but maybe I'm sure he'll bounce back and get a job or something. But for now, he needs to worry about his health and, getting his mental right and making sure, he lives, as long as he could live, because could have went south. That could have been, we could be hearing a different story about Bob Huggins, and and that's something we don't want to see. So, some people don't get another opportunity like that in life. So he needs to look at that as a blessing and be like, hey, it could have been way worse. So let's make some moves and get better from this and learn from this. It's a tough situation, but you're gonna learn. You live and you learn and figure it out, and hopefully he gets the help he needs. But it's tough for the program because now this changes everything. Like you said, there's a lot of people who are probably a little worried right now because their jobs and where they go to school, people just transferred there. And now they're like, I didn't come here I came here for coach. Coach, we're supposed to have a good team, all this, he's going to take care of us. And now it's up in there. So hopefully, things get figured out, and we'll see how they go about the season and all that, and we'll see who becomes, who's going to be the next head man there. So a lot of things they need to figure out there. A lot of things they need to figure out, and in West Virginia. But an unfortunate situation. But like I said, nobody got hurt, which is the number one thing.
Yep.
Tough situation. But anything else you got to talk about, Kev? Anything else on your mind?
I'll just say, going back to the draft real quick, I'm not gonna lie, I really like what the Utah Jazz did. I'm not a big fan of Danny Ainge being a Miami Heat fan, but I mean, they drafted Taylor Hendricks early in the first round. They got Bryce Sensabaugh late in the first round, and they got Keontae George. So to me, that's a hell of a class right there. Like,
they hit.
That's a haul. You know what I'm saying? Especially coming off the year that they just had. I know it wasn't successful winning-wise, but you had Larry Markkinen rise up. You had the Donovan Mitchell trade. You got off of Rudy Gobert. You got Ochai Agbaji was pretty good for them. Sound like they're probably going to get rid of Colin Sexton, but you got Jordan Clarkson. You got a couple other pieces.
Who's the big man again?
Walker Kessler.
Walker Kessler. There we go.
You got players. So, again, I'm not a fan of Danny Ainge like that, but I got to give him credit because he is one of the better executives in the NBA, and he did a hell of a job this one. Yeah.
Cost us Donovan Mitchell, but no, you're right. And if one of those guys hits, and with the talent of those three guys, one of them got to hit. So if you take one of them hitting, I mean, that could be your new Donovan Mitchell. So I think when you take three upside guys like that, you did good, and especially with the pieces they have there, and they may be able to get some more picks, because they probably gonna flip a couple more of those vets next season. So, Danny Ainge, man, that guy he'd be fleecing people, man. One thing I also learned too, we all thought the Gobert trade kind of like changed the whole market, but now we realize that like it didn't change as much as we thought, right? It didn't change it as much as thought.
It was Minnesota being stupid.
Like, it's just one team just being reckless, and like other teams, like, all right, we're just because they did it doesn't mean like it's gonna change. Because we all freaked out, like, oh my god, that means the next player is gonna ask for 5 first-round picks, and then like it got kind of relaxed when it died down, and like I think teams are like, yeah, we're not giving you 4 first-round picks just because Utah got 4 first. Nah, that's not how we're rolling. So I learned that like. Because you saw what Brad and you hear what Dame might go for, and like a lot of these guys, you're like, yeah, it's not going to be like that. Like it's just one team just being reckless with what they did, and it's like, no, we're not going to do that. It's not going to change. We're not average. Borderline all stars already going to get traded for 4 first-round picks and all. It's just circumstances. They thought this was going to be their move to make them a title team, and good for Utah, bad for Minnesota. That because I think it hurt them more than anything. I think it really hurt them going forward. Now they're all over the place. But that's the one thing I learned is that a lot of the guys we think, like we thought Brad was going to be worth 3 first-round picks, that. And then he went for some swaps, but it was swaps. Like, that could be 22 and 23. And it's like, all right, we're just swapping 1 pick. Like it doesn't, in a bunch of seconds, but it didn't go for like the 4 first-rounders and unprotected, 2 unprotected. And I don't think Dame's gonna go for that. I don't think a lot of if PG, I don't think he's gonna go for that much. Like I think we're gonna see normal trades, like 2 players and 2 picks and 3 picks. I'm gonna see the craziness of the Donovan Mitchell and the Rudy Gobert stuff. That was just Danny Ainge just doing just fleecing 2 teams crazy hard,
being greasy.
Is being great, is being super greedy and all that, and getting what he wanted, and that's how he negotiates. And some teams just buy in, but that's the one thing I learned is like a lot of the trades we might see upcoming, guys ain't gonna get traded for like the goal. It's not gonna be like that. So I think we could calm ourselves as far as fans, whether we think, oh, we give up too much. It's like I think the trade market's gonna go back to where it normally was before the Rudy stuff. So that's the one thing I learned. And also like international players, man, are it's just crazy how the growth and all that. We saw a lot of international guys go, and and, 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 just and also kids just like we talk about before, like just trust your path. Everybody wants to be in the league right now. I get it. I get it, right? We all get it. Everybody wants to be one and done. Everybody thinks they're one and done, but not everybody is. But everyone's path's different. Like Dame was a 4-year player, right?
Yep.
Tim Duncan was a 4-year. Like everyone's path's different. Some people need to go 4 years, 3 years, be an upperclassman. Some people need that extra year. Kobe Buffkin went from probably not being drafted to being, a top 20 pick, because he had a monster, last half of the sophomore year where he really took off. We see a lot of these one and done guys, some didn't get drafted, some went in the second round. Just like you mentioned before, trust your path. Just that's also that's have a good circle around you that's going to tell you the right things. Because maybe people tell, hey, come on, go, GG, go. You're going to be first round. Someone's going to take you. And now now that path's going to be harder. Now, maybe that's what they need. Those certain players like that, they need that. But it's going to be a tougher road for sure. And if you can get through this part and you get to that second contract and you're making good money and you're a starter and all that, then, hey, it was worth it. And maybe that's what you need. So there's a lot of things you learn from this and all that. And, but we also, it's, I'm tired of the NBA draft now. I'm tired of it. I'm over it. Got to pack it up. No more draft stuff. No more. Now we take a little break, get ready for all that, and we'll start previewing. I'll get a bucket. We'll start doing our, start gathering more information and do our conference previews and all that. And all that good stuff. Maybe get some insight for next year class coming in and all that, and go in depth a little bit about that, because that class people are already crapping on, and there's people that I know that don't know crap about that don't know, and it may not be as deep and like blue chip, but like Victor was, and that he was a abnormal. That's a once in a generation thing, So he probably added to the to that, but I still think there's guys in 2024 that could still be potentially all-star players. Like I think it's kind of getting misleaded a little bit. So I think that's something we'll definitely dive into in the next couple shows and that. But we're definitely gonna break down our conference and all that, and incoming freshmen who's gonna make impact and all that. We got a lot of star power coming back in college basketball, like we talked about last show. We got a lot of good star power and all that. So we're definitely gonna dive into all that. But another good episode to get a bucket, NBA Draft Edition. Kev, pleasure. Another great show, bro.
As always. And real quick, I want to hit on two things real quick.
Yes, sir.
Quick. The first, I want to hit on 2 points you just said. The first thing, shout out to Brandon Podziemski for getting drafted at 19 to the Warriors. Mm-hmm. He stayed the course, ladies and gentlemen. And I think that's one of the things that you mentioned, like running your race at your own pace. Yes, it was a lot of first rounders that in the first half of the lottery that were one and dones. But after that, you had Brandon Podziemski, 2-year player, start off at Illinois. You had Chris Murray, multi-year player. Omax Prosper, same thing. Marcus Sasser, same thing. Ben Shepherd, same thing. So teams aren't just valuing one and dones. And then to the last point before we get out of here, with the game being more global and the stars being more international now, we have to embrace that. There's nothing wrong with that. I know it's a lot of fans out there that don't like that, but that's the beauty of basketball, is that it's not, unlike football, it's not just America. The game is everywhere now. Giannis is originally from Greece, even though he's of Nigerian descent. Joker from Serbia. The list goes on. You know what I'm saying? Victor just came over from France. Like, that's the beauty of basketball. It's everywhere. Anywhere you go, you can pick up a ball and shoot it in a hoop, in a trash can, in a circle. That's the beauty of basketball, man. So I had to say that, because I feel like a lot of people are kind of against it, but it's about time. We've already been seeing former guys like Manu, Dirk, Arvydas Sabonis, Hakeem Olajuwon. Like, it's been a thing, but now it's on a much more grand scale, and I love it. If you're for basketball, you're for the growth of the game on the international scale, the women's scale, however the game could grow in any type of way. So I'm glad that it's happening, and people need to embrace that. So I just had to get that.
No, 100%. If you love basketball, you should love the growth, regardless of if they're American born, overseas, whatever, international. And like you mentioned before, like Chris Murray, like his twin brother was the top 5 pick last year. He could have just been like, I'm gonna go with them and all, but he's like, no, I needed to stay another year to get better and all that. And first round pick, and he was a pick away. Maybe he could have been joined his brother and all that. But like I said, definitely good points and all that. Stay in the course and all that. And like I said, Brandon Panzinski, going to Santa Clara was probably the best thing that ever happened to him. And it was a lower school and all that. What was he at before? Illinois.
Yep.
Illinois, right? Big time school, D1, but it didn't work out.
Yep.
Go to Santa Clara, and he mentioned that because Jalen Williams went there and all that. That was a big reason why he chose Santa Clara. And he saw what happened to Jalen. Jalen became a first round pick and was an all rookie first teamer. I think he was second in rookie of the year behind Paolo, I believe. And he chose that route, and that route worked for Jalen. He thought it would work for him. Boom. Now he's top 20 pick, going to the Golden State Warriors now. So like I said, if you just stay the course, sometimes it works. You just got to be patient and all that. And like I said, the international players, we got to embrace them. If it improves the game of basketball, that's the number one play. If you love basketball, you like I said, at all levels, we're seeing the international growth, and we just got to embrace it, and just learn more about them because, there's more. There's more coming. There's more coming. I think there's another Wembenyama, I think his brother's lurking. That's a South Hooper too. I think there's another cool Bali too. In the wings. There's a bunch of them. They're it's just crazy. The growth of the game. You just had like I said, Luka, Slovenia. Like I said, Serbia just won the NBA championship and all that. You got a lot of talent, which is a beautiful thing. Which means the Americans need to step it up too, because we got to step it up. We got to step up our game. We can't. It's not like years past where we just dominating fools. We got to step it up. Talent's there. So but yeah, those are good points. But yeah, Get a Bucket podcast. That's another one in the books. Like I said, that's Kev. Kev, tell the people where they can find you.
At Kevo Mufasa 7 on all platforms, social media platforms. That's at KEVOOMUFASA 7. As always, man, appreciate the support. Appreciate Off the Ball Network. Shout out to Prez, man, holding it down, doing his thing as always for everything. And we're going to keep rocking, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can find me Off the Ball Pod on Instagram, Facebook. Make sure to follow us on the YouTube channel. Make sure to sub, comment, like. Make sure to go to offtheballnetwork.com. We got a couple dope writers, with Nick and Omar holding it down. Offtheballnetwork.com, OTB_network on Twitter. Like I said, follow Kev. We got the handle right there, Kevin Mufasa 7. Follow me Off the Ball Pod. We talking ball. We did a draft space that was popping a few nights ago. We're gonna try to do some more spaces and all that. As college basketball, gets ramped up and all that, we'll definitely just follow us and we'll keep you locked in on what we're doing. But like I said, that's Kev. I'm Chris. Get a Bucket podcast. Be well, be safe. Take care, guys.